Welcome everyone to Speaker Idol. Obviously, this is our first presentation for the year. We're going to have a session today, we're going to have a session tomorrow, and then 2 on Friday is the current plan. If nothing goes wrong, we'll be able to keep doing that. Don't forget, turn off your cell phones. My clicker is clicking too many times again. Basic format. Each presenter we're going to have over the course of the 4 days is going to get 5 minutes. You'll see most of my slides a lot because they're all basically the same because I'm lazy. So each presenter is going to get 5 minutes. After they're done talking, our esteemed panel of judges down here is going to give them some feedback on what they liked and what they didn't like for their presentation. At the end of the night, or at the end of the hour and 15 minutes, the judges are going to go ahead and pick a winner and a runner-up. On Friday afternoon, one of our runners-up is going to go ahead and compete in the finals as well, so that we can then pick our winner for the Speaker Idol for this calendar year. Once Speaker Idol is all done, we will know who our first speaker for next year's summit is for the Summit 2019. So it's a pretty cool program that PASS lets me get away with over here. So you're going to see some images here. They're from Microsoft Office. I have no idea where the pictures are actually from, and that's not my problem. So the prize, like I mentioned, is going to be a session at next year's PASS Summit. With that presentation, you're going to get 12 months to worry about what you're presenting about, because you have 12 months to worry about what you're presenting about. And you'll, of course, have bragging rights for the next 12 months to brag about the fact that you beat down 11 of your friends for the ability to speak. And you'll get an awesome logo that I don't have yet for that next year, because PASS hasn't picked their colors for next year. Thank you, PASS. So today's judges are the beautiful Mark Sims, Joey Diatoni, yeah, you nod your head, Mark, our wonderful Kendra Little, and Alan Hurt. So our speakers for today are Heidi Hastings is going to be going first, Amina Lalani, am I right? Okay, cool. Christopher Wolf and Dennis Torres Dill. Thank you. I had brain surgery last year. I can't talk. And I've had a beer upstairs. So let's go ahead and bring Heidi up to the stage here. Heidi's a BI professional with over 7 years experience in various Microsoft products. She's formerly a software developer. We won't hold that too much against you, I promise. She's an ALM and DLM enthusiast with Azure DevOps and an Azure DevOps fan. She's co-founder and operator of the Adelaide Power BI user group. See, I can't talk. And a regular attendee at various tech events, various boot camps, DevOps days, SQL Saturdays, and of course, our own PASS Summit. How many bullets did I put on here? This is your 5th time speaking, so congratulations on being up here already, and good luck to you. We'll try to be nice to you. She does work for the government, so standard government warning, she's not talking for them. She's only going to talk about them badly. You are 4, I believe? There we go.
Alrighty, so welcome everyone, and thank you for taking your afternoon to come see me and the rest of the presenters today. So one of the things I worry about as a presenter, and most presenters do, is how is the audience going to receive it? Are they going to like the presentation? Are they going to hate the presentation? Are they going to stay? Are they going to walk out? And what's the demographic of that audience? So I looked at it and went, what is the attendee feedback that we can get? So as a data professional, the one on the left is quite complex. It's paper-based. There's a lot of data there. But again, it's really manual, and people don't always like to fill it in. They like to, just duck to the next session, and they don't necessarily get the chance. The other option is something like a happy or not button, which is really simple, but it's only one dimension of feedback. So it's easy for someone to walk out of a session and go, yep, I'm happy with that. But as a speaker, all you get is one dimension. You don't know why they were happy with it, what you could improve, what they didn't like. The other thing you would have seen, if you haven't seen any of that, is definitely this slide, because it's the session eval for PASS Summit. It's much better because it's app-based, so you can do it in transit or you can do it after the presentation, But for a presenter, I don't get the feedback until after you've already left. And it might be a week later, it might be a day later, or it might be not at all. So as a data professional, I'm like, there's all this data, and I want better feedback. So I'd like to introduce you to cognitive services. Cognitive services is a series of machine learning algorithms hosted in Azure and made available through APIs. Those APIs help a computer understand the real world. So if you think about it, you can take an image of, say, a birthday card with all that handwritten messages and take that and give it to a computer, and it can extract out the text. And that's really powerful because we can take it to the next level and take that text and look at the semantics and start to understand what people thought. So we could apply that to a feedback form, but we could also apply it to image analysis, because I can take an image of an audience, put that through cognitive services, and start to see things about the audience. You can do it for general images, so I could see, hey, this image contains a building. This image contains a person wearing a hat, or a dog, or an animal of any description. So you've got all those possibilities to help a computer understand the real world. And it can do it at scale. So as a human, I can interpret the room, but I can't do it as fast as a computer or with as many images as a computer can do. The time it would take me to understand an audience, it can do in milliseconds. So let's have a look at that computer vision API. Computer vision and face API allows me to give it an image, it'll detect the face, it'll take that face and tell me attributes about it. So here it thinks I'm a female who's 20, which I'm quite proud of because it thinks I'm 13 years younger. So it's a work in progress, cognitive services, but still, as a presenter, I now have demographics. If I took a photo of the audience, put that through, I've now got demographics I didn't have before, and a feedback form won't tell me that one. Or I can look at emotion. So here, good old photo of my lounge room. It thinks I'm fearful, and it can even tell me the confidence of the emotion. So it can go through the different emotion options and tell you, hey, I think you're 0.7 on the happiness scale, but you're 0.2 on the sad, so it's a little bit unsure. But it's really cool. So think about that as a presenter. I can analyze an audience throughout the presentation and start to see, hey, at the start, they really liked it. At the end, they were probably considering walking out. But you've got that extra feedback. And like these are only single face images, it applies to groups. So you can take a group image, analyze all the faces in that image, and start to see all that demographic, all that emotion data. Pretty cool. But one thing that's bad, you've got to consider privacy. These people, I've never met them before. The link down the bottom will tell you where I got them from. But they might not want to have their photo taken, and they might not want the big brother prospect of, oh my God, I'm walking down the street and something's analyzing everything I do. It's a real possibility in our day and age, but it's a little scary. So consider the privacy. And as a presenter, if I see that emotion analytics throughout my presentation and it's bad, I'm probably going to freak out. So it's like, it's also bad for me. But then I can flip it around and watch me as a presenter and look at my emotional analytics and look at my presentation style and be able to go, hey, I see how cognitive services can help me. But then where to from here? I'm looking at it as a presenter, but cognitive services can help all sorts of real-world examples. Think about crowd demographics, sporting events. You want to see the demographics so you can understand where to pitch your marketing. You want to look at stores to understand the happiness. You know, you want to look at school students, anything that has a queue, or the judges. These aren't these judges, but they're judges in 10. Oop, just missed. So thank you very much. Oh, this side. Thanks.
Very nice, very nice. Judges.
So nervous.
As we attempt to figure out the microphone. Great job on the setup and the story framing and kind of setting the human context for technology. You went about 7 or 8 seconds over, and I think you had your phone catch yourself next to the microphone.
Yeah, I didn't know whether to put it on silent because I thought it wouldn't alarm.
No worries. It's just the probably would have pared a little bit out of the intro and gotten it down to the essentials. But you know, really great context there. Good tone, good pacing, and I like the kind of the point counterpoint on responsible use of technology.
Thanks, Mark.
I agree. I had a note that said, this feels a little Big Brother-ish. And right as I typed that, you mentioned the whole privacy implications thing. So nice turnaround on that. Actually, oh, yes, there is a camera looking at my lap. Well, meta. I like the topic. I thought it was a good use of the cognitive services toolkit, and I thought it was overall really nice. I thought you did a good job of explaining it.
Thank you.
All right, great job. Thank you so much for speaking for us. I really enjoyed that. One thing that I particularly loved, I thought your slides were great, but I only needed to glance at them. I could follow a lot of the story from what you were saying. When I glanced at the slides, it just added value, and I thought that was terrific. Things I think you could tune a little bit. A few more pauses for emphasis would help you out. So just a little bit on the pacing, that's really just a fine-tuning thing. Also, if you're thinking about fine-tuning, occasionally doing some bigger hand gestures. This is just about getting emphasis and helping people's brains catch up a little bit with what you've just said. But
cool.
I really enjoyed the session. Thanks so much for talking.
Thank you.
Again, I'd agree. Very good job at sort of taking something and starting. I like the fact that you started off with something completely non-technical and then introduced cognitive services, because by the title of the talk, I would have not known this session was about cognitive services. So I actually like that. I know Cisa Hansen, I would agree with Kendra that you should maybe be a little more expressive. Not like, you know. Yeah, because you also take into account the room, too, and how big it is. Because if you're doing, like, little hand gestures like this, the back of the room's never going to see them, right? Gotcha. I could see them, so I'm sitting here, and I could see you're doing it. The one thing I did notice is from a pacing perspective, that I could tell you were a little nervous at the beginning because you were speaking very quickly. You caught yourself by about slide 2. You like slowed down, like, okay, I'm going to settle into this. So just like take a deep breath before you start. And I did like the fact that, and not everybody always does this, you had sort of had a next step slide, if you will. Like that was your where to from here.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that you gave people a roadmap of like where they can learn more. But overall, really good job.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Amina, come on up. We're going to do a quick mic swap because we only have the one mic today. Fortunately, we have our wonderful gentleman to help us do this so we don't drop the microphone and make a whole lot of noise. So before we finish up with that, Amina is a SQL Server veteran who started with SQL Server 2000. She's a Microsoft Certified Solutions Architect on SQL Server 2016. She's a co-chapter leader of the Chicago Users Group, where she's based out of. She's working on a lot of high availability and disaster recovery these days. And she volunteers and speaks at the SQL Saturday events all over the US. So thank you very much for doing that. So you're going to start with the slides. There you go. That one should be
4.
4.
Okay, and this is 1. Okay. Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to PASS Summit 2018. My name is Amina Lalani, and I'm here to talk about SP Who is Active. Okay. So how many of you already know what SP Who is Active is? Oh, a lot of people know about it. That's great. If you already don't know about this utility, then I think you are missing out on an essential DBA tool. But whoever don't know about it, I'm here to tell about this topic in next 5 minutes. So here is our session's agenda. What is SP Who's Active? I'm going to talk about it, and then we will see how it works. And then finally, I will explain my experience that how I saved time by troubleshooting a problem by saving the data to a persistent table from the SP Who's Active. So SP Who's Active is one of the best free utility that captures what is currently running on your SQL Server. This was written by Adam Mechanic. He's an MVP, and he donated it to the SQL Server community for free. And we should thank him. Thanks, Adam. He's not here, but it's recorded. So let's see how it works now. So before SP Who is Active, I used to use SP Who and SP Who 2. So what is the first thing you do when it is reported to you that SQL Server is running slow? Many people have different. I used to run SPHU and SPHU2. SPHU2 is good. It shows you that what blocking is going on. It shows you what command is running. Here you can see that wide world importer is getting backed up. But it does not show me what is the complete text of the backup command. So welcome to SPHU is active. By default, it gives me 23 columns of information compared to SP2, which only shows me 12 columns. Here, first column shows the duration of how long the process is running. Then the next column, SQL text, will show you what the complete text of the command is if you click on it. Then it will show you what is the wait types that is included in there. If there is a blocking going on, it will show you the blocking. And finally, it also gives you what percentage of the process is completed if it's a backup and restore job. So now I will show you that how I saved my time by saving data for analysis. So first step is creating a log table. SP, who is active, lets you create a log table. You can define your own table name. I gave it a name, who is active log. I already had a database called db_dba. I created this variable destination table, gave this variable to a SP who's active procedure, and ran the command, and it created the log table. You notice here that I'm using 4 extra parameters here. SP who is active allows you to use those extra parameters to give it more functionality. I wanted to collect more information. And if you want to know that how many parameters are there, just run SP who is active with help equals 1. The next step is creating a SQL agent job. And I created a job that runs every 10 seconds, collect the information from SP who is active, and inserts into my log table. So I have already collected that information, and I will show you in SSMS that how it looks. OK, so here is the output of who is active log table. As I said before, that you can see the complete command text of this backup command here, which is useful because you can see if compression has been used or encryption, any options have been used. What I was troubleshooting was that why my restore is running longer. So if I see here at 57 seconds duration, I see that it is stuck at 98% completion. My restore is stuck here. And then I came here and saw these wait types, never seen before, wait underscore XTP underscore recovery. Then I researched and I found that this wait types occurs when there are memory optimized table in a database. So this saved me a lot of time that now I know where I have to go and troubleshoot. And this information would not have been possible to get from SP-Who2. So, to summarize, SP who is active is not a magic wand that will solve all your problem. The purpose of this utility is to give you at a glance what is currently running on your system and what processes are doing a mischief on your system, and then you go and troubleshoot and resolve it. I hope you like this presentation. If you do, you can download SP who's active from this link, and the documentation is there also. Here is my contact information if you have any questions. And thanks, everyone, for being here to encourage new speakers, and thanks for listening to me.
Wrong slide. Judges.
All right. So good job. You did go over by about 40 seconds, so you have to. So one thing I would like to say is sort of we're not going to stop you, we're not going to ding you, but if you get in the next round, you sort of have to. It's 5 minutes. It's not more than 5. I think it was a good topic. I would have probably started with a problem first, like, hey, I had this problem, and I couldn't really resolve it, and then I found, like, SP who, who is active, and then here's how I went through it. You kind of sort of start off with the premise that you love SP Who is Active and it's a great tool, but maybe start with the problem first and make it more relatable. Like, because if people are sitting in the audience go, yeah, I've seen that problem, and you might not get everybody, but I think you'd get that. You had a few awkward pauses, but you recovered from them. And the only other one I'll say, and I'll leave some for the judges, I'm sure the other ones that they might have some. In the very beginning when you asked the question, I did like the question that you polled the audience and got some interaction. But remember, if it's recorded, saying a word like lots doesn't give the people listening, is it 50%? Is it 60%? Is it 90% of the audience? So, kind of give some sort of quantification to that so there's some sort of reference. But I've done a pretty good job.
Thank you.
I love how he was like, I know these folks aren't going to shut up. They're going to have a lot to say. Thank you so much for speaking. I enjoyed that a lot, and I am a huge fan of SP Who is Active, so I was right in there. I agree with Alan about the story framing. So I think for this session, you've got a really great 5-minute session. And I loved how you combined the slides in the demo, but I would swap them. As soon as you brought up the demo and you're like, I have this slow backup, I was like, oh yeah, I think that's your leading story. And then some of the stuff like, oh, you can log it to a table, that's more like, hey, you can even do this in advanced mode, and those slides should maybe just go at the end for like, but you're really going to hook people with the, hey, here's a problem and here's how I'm solving it as well. I would also add on to the end, I would add Adam's name as the author onto the end and his contact info along with the download link as well. You mentioned it at the beginning, but it's always really nice to have it right on the slide for people to read it there. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great job, and everything Alan and Kendra said, I pretty much agree with, and had my notes. I liked your screenshots, the way you highlighted what you wanted us to see on the screenshots. I did think in the SSMS screenshot where you had like three groups, I probably would have done that as I think 3 slides or maybe a fly-in animation so that it was clear that it was one result set. And it was funny because I typed something about I would have liked more insights into the options, but then you talked about the options that you were using, so that was very good. That's about all I had. I think it was overall pretty solid.
So this is more of a kind of a general comment. So much of presenting is hooking people and filling their brains with knowledge by storytelling. And I feel like there was I actually want to know what happened and what you were actually debugging, because it sounds like there was like some pain and some passion there. And just to kind of reinforce the leading with the kind of that contextual day-to-day, hey, there's a thing that happened to me, by the way, and taking folks through it is fantastic. Great job on not being stuck to the podium. The only thing to watch out for is that certain conference centers like this one cheaped out on the stages, and depending on the microphone, it'll pick up the noise from the stage itself. So,
Yeah.
but that's just you just got to watch out. Some at Bit I think they rent them from different companies, because at Build they don't do that, and at Pass they do. It's odd. The only other little one, thank you for the SSMS Zoom levels. Yay, appropriate sizes that can be seen from the back of the room. We love that. And just watch out that your story is in line with your slides, because on the first one, the framing, you'd already moved on to the second highlight, but you were still telling the first story. Really minor stuff.
Thank you very much, judges.
Thank you.
Christopher, come on up. All right, so while Christopher gets mic'd up here real fast. So Christopher has been working with SQL Server since back in the days of SQL Server 2000, so he's as old as the rest of us. His Twitter handle is at TikTok, and his email address is right there as well, so tiktok@gmail.com. So with that said, if I hit the right button, it'll be in much better shape.
No, I gotta move it over. So that's me. one second. Let me grab it. Okay. Steve Jones, Len Berry, Stacia as well. These are just like some of the titans we have here at Past Summit. You know, these are great speakers, and they're way more interested in data than, unfortunately, I am. I have passions of another kind. One that brings up names like Marshall Sutcliffe, Luis Scott Vargas, and Reed Duke. No, these aren't tech professionals. These are professionals for Magic the Gathering. A trading card game that's been around for 25 years. No, not that Magic. This Magic. I love playing Magic. Talking about the cards, making new decks, watching people on YouTube play Magic, playing online, drafting every Friday night at my local game store, going to conventions in Las Vegas and Denver where me and 3,000 of my fellow nerds play it out for 10 hours a day. You could say I'm a little obsessed. For those who are not familiar with Magic, it is a card game where you pose as wizards, no, I'm not making that up, and cast spells at your opponents in the form of creatures, instances, sorceries, enchantments, and planeswalkers. Oh, shoot. Now, before I get too far down the rabbit hole here, I'm forced to address the question you're all asking right now. What's this got to do with data? I would argue that everything about Magic is data. From the life totals to the power and toughness of the creatures, the total of the mana needed to cast any given spell, this game was made to be analyzed. But rather than focus on the game as a whole, I'm going to talk about one specific data point. What is the likelihood of me drawing any one card in my deck? To do this, we'll go over some basics of what is called constructed Magic. So in constructed Magic, you have a 60-card deck where you're likely to have 24 lands and 36 spells, based on the speed of your deck and the casting of the cost of the spells. This can be many different formats, but we're just going to talk on what's called standard Magic, and that's just the last few sets of Magic. So, in these decks, you have multiple copies of each card, but only up to 4 of any one card besides the basic lands. Now that we have the basics out of the way, we can talk about the math behind it. In this case, whoops, oh, I went too far, sorry. The down is going up. We're going to be using a statistical function called hypergeometric distribution to give us the probability of the number of successes based on the number of draws from our deck. To give you a better visual of what that kind of looks like, we're going to use this website from a company called StatTrack. And it's basically just a tutorial site that gives you a better idea of how to learn about statistics, things like that. So you can use this friendly lab to break down. As you can see, I'm using a 60-card deck, 4 number of possibilities, looking for a particular card, and I have 7 cards in my opening hand. The possibility of me getting one or more specific card in my opening hand. In this case, our first one basically brings it down to the possibility of me doing that is about 39.95%. Now that doesn't sound great because if you're trying to be consistent with how the deck works, things like that, right out the gate, you may or may not draw the cards you're looking for. But as we keep drawing cards, by the time we get to turn 4, we have 11 cards. At that point, you're at 56.55%. So therefore, 50%, that's pretty good odds. About half the time, you're going to draw the cards you're looking for. And that will make a more consistent deck and better for you to play with, basically. Therefore, using 4 copies makes the deck smoother, and you get more things like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mark?
It's not me.
I say it's not one of my boxes. Nothing I own makes that noise.
It was strangely not very soothing. I suppose I should preface this with I've actually worked on the data model for Magic the Gathering Online.
Awesome. I want to talk to you later.
Mark, that explains an awful lot.
It was only so Wizards would give us a DM for a weekend for the real game.
Awesome.
Is that on the recording? Oh, well. So just a couple of things. I think a lot of the opener felt a bit superfluous because it wasn't until you kind of got to the meat of the story that you actually relaxed and got into it and rolled into the flow. So as much as like trying to tie this to pass, I'd be like, whatever, just get straight into the story. And I think you're both more comfortable in that flow, and it comes out a lot easier. The other one is when you're dealing with walking someone through a story of math, being able to reinforce it on the slides behind, especially when you're going quickly, really helps synchronize the story you're walking somebody down, as well as kind of what they're supposed to remember in terms of like, I know how the kind of the magic hands roll out, but having like the rules and the basics in the background and not just a statistical chart would really have helped reinforce someone who hasn't sat down and tried to take 20 life points away from their opponent.
Yeah, I felt like it took you a while to get to the meat of the presentation. You had a little bit of a slide bobble, but you recovered really well from that. One of the things I thought was interesting, and since you built the data model, tell me if I'm completely wrong on this.
I don't build anything. I come by and help people make choices the second.
I thought there was this one point where you could have talked about how that was the decision trees almost exactly the way a query optimizer works, and that would have kind of increased the local relevance. That would have been cool. And you had a font on the calculator slide where you're showing the numbers that was like this weird double. I'm not sure what it was. It was hard to read though. But other than that, good job, and you were a little bit over.
All right, thanks for that presentation. That was interesting. I have one really nitpicky thing. Like at the beginning in the list of Titans, you listed 2 people with the first and last name, and then the third person, you just listed Stasha's first name. Her last name is Stacia. See, I can't even say her. So learn to say their names right, which I failed at. But also the last name, be consistent with the naming. I think the biggest note I have for you on the presenting is I felt like you were reading some stuff off of the slides, either the notes or just making sure what slide it was on. Like I'm watching you, and instead of making you did make good eye contact with the room at times, but there was a lot of eyes on the laptop thing. It's really tricky to do. If you have to cut down on the number of slides to make it be easier for you, it's just worth doing there. I loved the memes. I loved your storytelling and your cadence there. But yeah, if you get the eyes off the laptop a little, and it'll help bring those mechanics together for you and really make it pop.
Thank you for the feedback.
So I'd echo definitely what Kendra said. I didn't notice as much eye contact with the audience. I also noticed you looking at the screen sometimes. And so it kind of kept you focused. Like you were looking there like you never really looked at that side of the room at all. And in a really big room, if you get one at Summit, you really kind of have to work the room a little bit. Otherwise, people will feel like you're just ignoring them. It sounds weird, but it's true.
No, it's fine.
Now, I'm going to be... So, obviously, Magic the Gathering is something made by a company, but all those images you have, they were probably copyrighted images. So, at some point, you should have put an attribution of, or just said, hey, I took screenshots while I was playing or whatever, because just, it comes up at every year during Speaker Idol. It's in a lot of presentations, but you always should attribute stuff that you didn't make and put where you got it from, at least somewhere, like, just so that, if anybody ever saw that,
That's fair.
I'd agree. I'd just kind of get to the meat of the story. And the other thing I noticed that you should just, again, just as a note, right in the middle, like when you had a little issue, you said like, oh shoot, right? Yeah. Like, try not to do that audibly, because you can. Yeah, exactly, right?
Oh, you're lucky I didn't use another word.
Well, that's not part of the harassment policy, so you might get away with that. But
It
you
is.
just sort of, just take a breath, like, because sometimes you can lose an audience when you do stuff like that, or just be like, you know what, make up a joke or something to fill it in instead of like doing like oh no, something happened, right? But I thought, like, just a little tightening up, like what everybody said, that could be a really good presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Dennis, come on up. Stall and tell a joke. Yeah, you don't want to hear my jokes. Trust me. So while we get all plugged up here, so Dennis is a senior software developer who, based on the giant size of that power brick, is based in another country. He specializes in .NET and C# and has done so since they were created and originally brought to us. He's a Brazilian who is living now in Malta as the leader of the Maltan Data Platform User Group with 20 years of experience in the IT field and has been working with SQL Server since back in the day of SQL 6.5. Pretend you didn't see that.
Hello? Start. Welcome and thank you for attending this 300-level session, Don't Cry Over Spilled Memory. Let me tell a story. A few days ago, a friend called me. Hey, bro, I'm in trouble. Could you help me? Oh, yeah, sure. As long as it's not to fix your printer again, I can help you. Do you remember that SQL Server migration on my data warehouse environment that we talked about? My boss is now requesting an ROI report. I need to explain to him what benefit we got from the money we spent on the migration. How can I do this? Oh, that's easy. SQL Server 2017 has many new features that will give your environment an immediate improvement as long as you change the compatibility level from 2016 to 2017. One of these new features is the memory grant feedback. This is a great feature to help us against the spills. Let's remember a bit about the spills. When a query first arrives on SQL Server, it's compiled and the plan is stored. Our following executions will use the store plan. The amount of memory this query needs is defined during the compilation. Our other executions will use a fixed amount stored in the query plan. Then, our well-known query monsters arrive. Parameter sniffing, bad statistics, lots of inserts and updates on the data. All these monsters will change the amount of memory our query needs to execute. What will happen with our query plan? This is our query plan, using 200 kilobytes of memory and with a sort spill. This means SQL Server is using tempdb to process this execution because the amount of memory configured in the query plan was not enough. This query will be way slower than a regular execution. We can fix this using the memory grant feedback. This feature will identify the SPU, fix the amount of memory in the query plan inside the plan cache. On the next execution, the SPU will not be there anymore, and the amount of memory will be fixed. Let's see a demonstration about this. First, I'll change the compatibility level to 2017, create an extended event session, and clear the cache. Now, I will execute a query with a sort SPU problem. The extended event session we just created is capturing the event memory grant updated by feedback. We are capturing all the queries fixed by this new feature, so we can build the ROI report to your boss showing all the queries improved by the migration. Let's check the execution plan. The plan has a sort SPU. It's using tempdb, but the query is already able to use memory grant feedback. Let's execute one more time. While the query executes, let's check our extended event session. We already captured the memory grant updated by feedback. We can use this data to show to your boss how the queries improved during the migration. And the final execution plan doesn't have the SPU anymore. It's gone. I could see my friend's impressed face. A few days later, he called me saying his boss gave him a raise, so he would never again need to ask me to fix his printer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Judges?
Okay, first of all, didn't go over time. Awesome. So welcome back. I know you were here last year. So I like your story, and I like the fact that you made it a very technical presentation in 5 minutes that was fairly relatable. Like that can go either way. Plus, you did a live demo, so always kudos for that. Like when you showed the T-SQL, when you're talking about it, you highlighted everything, but you talked about like 3 different things or 4 different things. I would have maybe highlighted that here's where we do this, here's where we do this, here's where we do this, because you kind of were making assumptions that everybody in the audience knew what all that was. The one nitpick thing that I'm going to say from a technical standpoint is when you talked about changing compatibility level, you didn't mention that it was per database setting. You know, because again, yes, it's a 300 level session, but you might just say, you know, on your database, when you change this, it makes a big difference. Just a couple extra words would have made a difference to maybe just a few people. But other than that, great job.
Thank you so much for that. The storytelling was excellent. You are great at storytelling. And as you started talking, I really felt like the story from last Speaker Idol, I was like, oh yeah, another story. Like it just immediately warmed up. You are so good at that. The query monsters were excellent. Your ability, the way you packed so much into that demo smoothly, I could not do that myself. I'm like, wow, you got that extended event information in and the execution plan in. I thought that was so smooth. Professional levels of Zoom it, really nicely done. When you're in the middle of the stage, one thing I think you could improve on, I love your hand gestures. There was a little shifting back and forth between your 2 feet, which we all have these patterns of what makes us comfortable. If you could, it makes you just look a little nervous. So if you can keep the feet, but keep the hands moving just like you have, I think that would power that up a little bit more. Thank you.
Yeah, to just follow on what Kendra said, that was a great job with storytelling, and the visuals were really fantastic. Like, I like the turtle and the rabbit. That was really cool. And likewise, when you were in the middle of the stage, I thought your movement could have been a little bit more deliberate. Your hand gestures were really good, but you were moving kind of side to side a bit, and that was fine. You were commanding the whole room. But just when you do that, try to be a little more deliberate when you move instead of kind of moving back and forth as I take the mic away from my face. Let me check my other notes. I had two super nitpicky things. One of which is compatibility level is the actual version, not the marketing version. So compatibility level for 2017 would be 140. That's super minor. And okay, I missed that. I missed that. And then you're running RTM of 2017 patch. I said they were nitpicking.
I don't even think nitpicking necessarily qualifies for that, and you still missed one of the things on the slide. Aquarium monsters, I love it. So just it didn't affect anything you were doing today, but always make sure to take your badge off because all it takes is turning and it's slapping off the microphone. It didn't happen. It didn't trip. Just more of a general caution for everybody, especially since most lav mics are very sensitive.
Right yeah. And I don't even have a lav.
Well, we tend not to do this quite so much. Story through pictures, as always, fantastic. Zoom it, as always, great to read. The only a nitpick on slide is the first memory plan slide was a bit hard to read some of the details, so I might have done that as a before and after with a call out, just so you could use the whole slide to show the little details. The only other item is, since you did introduce it as a 300 level presentation, and thank you for that, just level set right off the bat. When you're bringing in other pieces of technology, just like a little 15-second blurb, and then keep going. Hey, extended events do if you haven't used them before. Just just those little contextualizations.
Well, thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, sir. Okay. With that said, that's all 4 of our talks for today. So judges, go away. I don't have to be nice to any of them. They're all my friends. Yeah, Microsoft Office is wonderful for clip art. So thank you very much to all 4 of our contestants for today. I do appreciate you taking the time to put these together. I know there's at least a couple of the people that are competing the rest of the week that are in here. So thank you to you guys as well. So I want to turn this over to the audience and go, ask what you guys are looking to see out of this this competition, out of these 4 presentations. Anybody? Nobody. Fine. Well, just go away. It's fine. So, as the audience who is watching Speaker Idol, what are you guys looking to get out of this, as far as and from the audience perspective of this? You're here to scope out your competition. Okay, fair enough. What'd you have to say? Tips to be a better speaker. All right, cool. Good info. Good answer. Lightning talks are fun. Fair enough. They are the hardest presentations to give. As anybody that's speaking up here this week will tell you, lightning talks are absolutely horrible. I personally hate them and will not give 5-minute talks because of that. I much prefer the longer talks just because I personally can get more in depth into what I'm talking about. And as you probably noticed, I tend to ramble on a lot. Someone over here? I was just basically spying on them because I'm tomorrow. Spying on them because you're competing tomorrow. All right, fair enough.
Just as a user group leader, I'm always looking at developing more speakers, right? So like some of these things, to hear what the judges want to see or have their kind of feedback, how they give feedback, and then also just to see what happens to people as they're, when they go up and do a short one, how do they react to that?
So you're looking for new talent to abuse for your user group.
Sort of like,
Yeah.
how do I mentor them?
Yeah, how do you mentor users and mentor people who are just getting into the speaking thing? Yeah, all right, fair enough. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, so absolutely, yeah, 5-minute talks definitely can be a gateway drug into a full longer presentation for a new speaker. So who here has given a presentation before? Most of the room. Okay, so if you don't have your hand up, you haven't presented yet. Your local user group leader, I'm sure, will be more than happy to abuse you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So do we give the contestants the guidelines of what they're expecting? So there's nothing that PASS gives us that says, hey, this is what you should do for every talk. So we did have a call, Rob, what was it, a month and a half ago, give or take, with all the contestants to kind of go over kind of what I knew just from previous years of doing this and from speaking. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, so that particular thing was mentioned. And some people forget to do it. Some, I don't always do it on all my slides. I'm trying to fix my slides to do that, but yeah. So everybody is on a fair playing field because we don't tell them much. Everybody has the same amount of info, which is as much as I get as a speaker at PASS, which is basically nothing. Yeah. Potentially, yeah. So all the calls are recorded, and the links are sent out. So and they should have. Everybody, I think we had last year's link as well, right? That I had sent out. So we had all that good stuff available to us, so everybody could see.
Also, many judges have blogged their comments about what people who won the Speaker Idol have done, and what they did well, and what people who didn't win did poorly. So yeah, that's all available if you do enough research.
Yeah, they are taking notes, and they do publish blog posts because they all have big mouths and like to talk. So that said, yeah, I know. I've known you all for years.
We need to give you a winner and a runner-up, right?
Yes, winner and a runner-up.
Okay, the runner-up is, to go in a Miss America format, Dennis Torres, and
the winner is?
This is a really tough decision. They both gave really fantastic talks. The winner is Heidi Hastings.
All right, congratulations. So, Heidi, you will definitely be presenting Friday afternoon at whatever godforsaken time we have to be here at 3:30 in the afternoon. So, Dennis, you may be presenting at 3:30 in the afternoon. We'll find out. Don't forget to come back tomorrow for Speaker Idol at 4:45. I'm assuming we're back here in this room tomorrow? Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we're in the same place every time. Yes, you go. Somebody give Hugo the microphone.
So I was giving some tips for the non-native speakers. There are people in the room who are a different type of non-native speaker. In authentication, we call that a double hop issue. And we all hate that. And especially Kenneth's story was a great story, but I was affected a bit by the double hop and not catching every word he said. So if you are aware that native is not your first language, no matter how proficient you are with it, your pronunciation suffers, so slow down. And I should do this as well.
Fair enough. Thank you, Hugo. So everyone, don't forget to, what do you say? So everyone, don't forget to submit session evals. That is how PASS picks speakers for the next event. Don't forget to check out everything that PASS has to offer, because they do have the SQL Saturdays, the user groups, and the virtual chapters, and all the other good stuff here on the slide. Thank you all very much for coming, and we'll see you hopefully tomorrow.
Thank you, Denny.